Okay, looks like we are live. Hello everyone, Artemu the Violet Wizard here. And today we are continuing the Pokémon Sapphire Nuzlocke. Last time we managed to defeat Flannery, the Lava Ridge gym leader, managing to get our 4th gym badge. So we're about halfway done our journey. And we have made our way back to Petalburg City, as this is going to be the site of the next gym battle we need to do in order to continue our adventure. So this is going to be a very interesting stream session, as we've obviously got a big battle coming up that's been hyped up for a good chunk of our adventure. And for anyone who's familiar with this particular game, you definitely know what is coming and just how tough this fight is. So I wanted to make sure that my team was optimally prepared for the fight ahead. If we look into our party, we can see that trained about everyone up to level 30. Got myself a team that I feel would be very good here. A mix of very defensive Pokemon, some Pokemon that be able to handle some normal type attacks pretty well. And we trained up one of the Pokemon we caught in an earlier session, as I felt that they would be pretty useful in this next fight. So let's say hello to our new teammates. Hey, what's up, dude? I'm Marshall. Hey, Marshall, how's it going? Yo, I'm feeling good, man. This team got some pretty cool vibes on them, so I think we're gonna get along great, man. Okay, good to hear. So, Marshall is a fighting type, which is going to be very useful in this particular battle, especially with the moves that he has. Karate Chop has an increased critical chance, which could be very good, and he's also got Revenge, which could be really useful as a desperation attack, so he should be very helpful in these next couple of fights. Sadly, he does have kind of a bad nature for a Machoke, so we do have to deal with that, but besides that, we should be good to go. Let's do this. Hey, how's it going, Champion Bound Hayden? The doors in this gym open when you beat the awaiting trainers. Whoops, the doors of this room are already open, so don't attack me. The trainers at Petalburg Gym use all kinds of items. The door at the left leads to the speed room. The door at the right leads to the accuracy room. The room's name will be on the door, so choose carefully. Once you've chosen the door, well, hey, go for it. So we got an interesting challenge here in the Petalburg Gym, where we have to defeat trainers in order to be able to open access to the next rooms. The ability to attack before the opponent. Just that alone puts me at a great advantage, don't you agree? So the main gimmick with this gym is that this area is based around the X items that we've been seeing all throughout this adventure. And our opponents will be using an X item on the very first turn in order to provide a boost to their Pokemon in order to make them more effective in combat. But we really shouldn't have to worry too much about that. A little disappointed that Marshall had to trigger that cute charm from a Delcatty here. So Delcatty, this is the evolution of Skitty, which we have encountered previously. Not really anything we really have to worry about. It doesn't have really good stats, or moves for that matter. It can impair you with some statuses, but it's really not too bad to deal with. And because I want experience, we're going to be going after every single trainer in this gym. So we're going to double back to the accuracy room. Yeah, the various trainers in here will use all sorts of different strategies with their Pokemon. And one of the things I really like about this gym in Emerald is that no Pokemon is repeated among the different trainers in this gym, which I thought was a very nice way to vary up things in this area. However, in the original Ruby and Sapphire, it's a lot more basic. So both of the first opponents that we can deal with here will be using Delcatty. And this one did manage to put Marshall to sleep, but thankfully we do have the blue flute, which will be very nice for being able to recover. course it's going for Attract. It's pretty much the only thing I really have to worry about with Delcatty here. Can we finish you? Come on. Okay, I have an idea on what we're gonna do here, because we have a red flute to snap out of Infatuation. So we're gonna use that first, so that Marshall's no longer affected by Attract, and then we use our blue flute to wake you up. Then we just have to... come on. This really isn't a tough Pokemon, it's just really annoying because of the statuses it does. Oh boy, we're gonna be here a while, I can tell. Let's just heal Marshall of his statuses. The only other thing Delcatty really has going for it is that it's also pretty fast. It does have a good speed stat, but besides that, yeah, there really isn't much else to it. It's pretty much just going to be inflicting status ailments. Come on, Marshall, you fight through this. Whoa! Okay, this is getting really irritating. I want Marshall in order to win this fight so he can get all the experience, but this is just being a real pain in the tuchus. Alright. We'll wake you up with Blue Flu and see what happens next. God, so sick of this. Can we please get one hit on this thing? Ugh. Okay, I feel like we are just running in circles here against this cat. Who has a good enough speed stat to be able to deal with this? Seems like Filet is the fastest Pokemon we got. Okay. This thing has been way more annoying than it honestly should be with how poor its stats are. There we go. It's finally dead. God, that was annoying. But luckily, things shouldn't be as annoying going forward, though there will still be some tough fights to deal with. Actually, we'll give you a Super Potion. Managed to get quite a few Super Potions from our Linoon Mickey in between sessions while we were training, so we have more than enough healing items for what we're going to be dealing with here. Now we're heading into the Recovery Room. His opponent this time, George. He's got himself a Linoon. So it could be tricky with you being a bit of a faster Pokemon. Yeah, this is easily going to outspeed Marshall, so we're going to go for Revenge. Oh, come on. So the thing with Revenge, this is a move that normally does 60 base power, but it will double in strength if the user has been damaged in the same turn that the move is used. And in order to increase the chances of this move being able to use its maximum power, it also has the effect of having low priority. So that move will almost be guaranteed to do double damage as long as you get hit by a damaging attack on that turn. It's quite nice. We're gonna go for the Karate Chop here, because this Linoon's already taken a bit of a beating, and you are done. Very good. I couldn't restore HP enough. What attack power! Yeah, not bad considering the fact that Marshall is running with a pretty bad nature that affects his attack stats. Normally, attack is the forte of the Machop family, as they are very physical Pokemon. But, yeah, with his current nature, he's not going to be hitting as hard as other Machoke would. Yeah, it's a major bummer, bro. He's got another Linoon in this room. Yeah, we're gonna go for revenge here. These guys tend to be very fast. And yeah, I forgot about the entire gimmick of this place, because these guys will be using X items. Yeah, we should be able to finish you with a Karate Chop here. Do want to make sure that we are good and prepared for what's to come, so we're probably going to be heading back to the Pokemon Center in a bit so that we can recover our power points. Just because I want our Pokemon to be as optimally prepared for this fight as we can. It's pretty nice that Marshall was able to get some good training from doing this gym. So we're going to give Marshall a break. And we are going to have Titania in the lead here. So to go into the normal type and the obvious strengths and weaknesses you want to watch out for here. Normal is pretty much the most basic type there is. So it's pretty effective against most Pokemon in the adventure. You will never be able to deal super effective damage on an opponent using normal attacks. But it's still pretty good all around because it can hit a lot of Pokemon for neutral damage. However, the main types that you do want to watch out for when it comes to opponents is Rock, Steel, and Ghost, as those types will either be resistant to or completely immune to normal types. And then, of course, you want to watch out for Fighting-type Pokemon, as Fighting-type attacks deal super effective damage to normal. As long as you are prepared for that and are able to have a good team that can exploit their weaknesses, you shouldn't have too much of a bad time here. There are still a couple of things that you can expect in this gym that can be a bit nasty, but all things considered, it's not that bad. Well, it's a good thing our dad has so much confidence in us to ask his trainers in order to go all out against us. So in the last two rooms, we'll be facing Zangoose, which is quite the powerful Pokemon, though I doubt this thing's going to have anything that's really going to affect Titania. These guys are good attackers, but it's mostly the later games where Zangoose really gets good with the moves it has access to. The thing is, buffing itself with Swords Dance. Titania should be good to handle anything it can do, though. And we take it out with Iron Tail. Yeah, this is a move we picked up in between grinding sessions, and it is quite the good move, though it does have one key drawback to it. So, Iron Tail's pretty much the best damage-dealing Steel-type move in the game, at least in this part of the series. And it's quite good, but it has a pretty low rate at being able to hit targets, as is like 75 base accuracy. So it's only able to hit 3/4 of the time, which could really screw you over in some situations. But we shouldn't have to worry too much about that. She's got herself another Zangoose to deal with here. So this one will have its critical hit rate increased. So you definitely want to watch out against this thing. Luckily, we should be good. Soften you up with a Rock Tomb, and then we can finish you with Iron Tail. Yeah, look at the damage that thing is doing. Aron is such a good Pokemon to use in this gym, because being a Rock Steel type, it has quad resistance against normal type moves. It is just really good at taking care of everything in this gym. God, it's so amazing. Alright, we're going to switch Shari into the front, and we are actually going to head back to the Pokemon Center. We have actually managed to deal with all the trainers in this gym. So now all we got to do is face our daddy. So this is going to be quite the interesting match. So before we go into this fight, I do want to kind of go into what my strategy is going to be with this specific battle, as it's going to be a rough one. Alright, so we got some pretty strong and very bulky Pokemon that we're going to be dealing with in this gym. So what the strategy that I wanted to go with here, besides having Pokemon that are resistant to normal type moves and also can do super effective damage to normal types, what I also want to rely on is having both Shari and Filet intimidate our opponents to lower their attack, which can be very nice to increase our survivability here. And provided that things don't turn out as planned, we can always switch over to Blocky, as we can take advantage of his Sand Veil ability alongside the move Sandstorm to cause weather that would make him more evasive while also chipping away at the opponent's HP. I feel like that'd be a good strategy to go for here, alongside everything else we have planned. Depending on how things go, we should be good. Like, this is a pretty good team for handling this gym, all things considered. But yeah, this is still a tough one, and it could go either way depending on just how lucky or unlucky we tend to be. Not a good supply of healing items, so I would recommend having anything that could also cure sleep in this area, because we might be afflicted with sleep during this fight. So make sure you pick up a blue flute, as that could be very integral here. And also check to make sure your Pokemon's items are good. So I got Black Glasses, King's Rock, and other sort of stat helping items. So our team should be about as good as they should be for this fight. Obviously, you can train your Pokemon's levels up some more to be able to have an easier time here, but we should be able to do this in the 30s range. Alright, so we managed to handle everything we could on our way to the gym leader. Father, I have arrived. So, you did get 4 gym badges. Fine, as I promised, we'll have a Pokemon battle. Hayden, I'm so happy I can have a real battle with my own child. But a battle is a battle. I will do everything in my power as a gym leader to win. Hayden, you'd better give it your best shot too. So our father, Norman, is the Petalburg gym leader, leading with Slacking, the final form of the Slackoff family. This thing has the highest stats of any Pokemon we've encountered on this journey at this point. It is a absolute beast of a Pokemon with a massive attack stat and just all around good stats across the board. So we want to nerf this thing as much as possible, which is why I want to lead with Shari and then switch over to Filet, just lowering its attack stat as much as we can here. So you definitely want to watch out for its signature move, Facade. That thing is really nasty. Slacking will use Facade in order to deal some pretty strong damage, and if it's inflicted with Burn, Poison, or Paralysis, the power of Facade is doubled. So whatever you do, do not inflict a status ailment on this thing. A neat thing that you can do in order to have an easy time with this fight here is to take advantage of Slacking's ability, which is Truant. It will not be able to act every other turn, so you can take advantage of that with a few different strategies, like having a Pokemon that knows Protect or Detect to be able to block hits. For what we can expect to see here, I'm not sure if this thing outspeeds, though Marshall does have pretty poor speed. So we're gonna go for revenge and see what happens. We have nerfed this thing quite a bit, so yep, it wasn't able to do that much damage. And we are going at this thing with a maxed out damage revenge. Okay, that did pretty good. So on this thing's free turn, we're gonna go for Karate Chop. And he's gonna be healing. Okay, we should be good. Because while he did heal that thing, we should still get a free turn of setup. So let's go for Karate Chop again. Wait, what? Oh, come on, that should have been a free turn. Just from my personal experience of using this Pokemon. Got a critical hit there, so that's pretty good. We have one more free turn we can do, so we're just gonna go for the attack. Alright, Karate Chop will take you out. Yeah, totally gnarly, man. Alright, very good. Next up is Vigoroth. So we're going to go ahead and heal here, because Marshall took a bit of a beating from that first Pokemon. So this thing is still pretty nasty. While it is weaker than Slacking, it's still very formidable. Going to go for Revenge, try to max out our damage here against this thing. Bam! And there goes Vigoroth. Very good. Wow, total bummer, man. And Norman's final Pokemon is yet another Slacking, but this one is much higher level. So we are going to want to nerf this thing much like we did with the first Slacking. So going to switch over to Shari to get this Intimidate off. Then we'll be switching over... Ooh, that did a lot. We'll switch to Fillet in order to get the next Intimidate. And we're going to take this turn in order to heal up Marshall again, as we're going to be needing him as our main fighter here. Slicking's going for Facade. Alright, that didn't do too much, so we should be good. We'll switch in on the free turn, and then we'll try to finish this. Alright, it's going to go for the offense here, so let's go for Revenge, expecting it to outspeed. Oh, this is nasty. So this thing has access to Focus Punch. That is a very unique attack. It has it can do high damage, but it won't work if the opponent manages to strike it before the move actually gets used. So since we used a low priority move like Revenge, it was actually able to pull off the Focus Punch. Oh boy, that did a lot. Well, we should be good. We basically got a free turn here, so... yeah, we're actually gonna heal. Feel like that would be our best course of action here. Alright, he's gonna do Hyper Potion. He's gotta get another turn here to deal with. It's gonna go up for Focus Punch again. We might as well go for Karate Chop, trying to soften it up. And it goes for Facade. Okay, sure. Alright, well, we got a free turn. Let's use Focus Energy. So this will increase our critical hit rate, and hopefully Marshall should be able to handle whatever comes next. I really don't want to risk the Focus Punch, so we're gonna go for Karate Chop here. Yep, I had a feeling it would do that. Alright, one more hit should do it if we manage to get the crit. Come on, Marshall! Yeah, there we go! Oh man, this fight can be so brutal since Slacking is such a powerful Pokemon. I am so glad we managed to get through this without a fatality. Whew. And with that, we have defeated our father. If you're playing Emerald, instead of the first Slacking, he would have both a Linoone and a Spinda. And they're not too bad. Linoone is pretty fast, and Spinda will try to confuse you with Teeter Dance. But besides that, they're not too bad. I can't believe it. Hayden. I lost to Hayden? But rules are rules. Here, take this. So we have finally managed to surpass our own father. And we get the Balance Badge. that badge, the defense of all your Pokemon will increase. Pokemon that know the HM move Surf will be able to travel over water. This is my gift to you, Hayden. I'm sure you can use it correctly. And we get TM42. TM42 contains Facade. It doubles the power of moves if the Pokemon's poisoned, paralyzed, or burned. It might be able to turn a bad situation into an advantage. As the gym leader, I can't express how upset I am. But as a father, it makes me both happy and a little sad. It's odd. Oh yes, Wally's parents came calling earlier. They said they had something they wanted to give you, Hayden. So you might want to check in on Wally's folks in a bit. Oh man, that gym was quite something. That went better than expected. So yeah, my strategy of nerfing using my 2 Intimidate Pokemon and then just going all out with Marshall and managed to pull through, and we got ourselves the win. Hayden, whoa, you've become even your own father. Like, whoa, what a stunning turn of events. I know, right? So now that we have bested our father, we're going to be heading to the center, as I do want to change up our team a bit for what we're going to be doing next. So we'll definitely want to give Marshall a break. I really don't know how much longer we're going to be using Marshall. He's not really going to be too good later on in the game, especially with his nature, but, you know, he's been pretty reliable. And we'll definitely want to bring in Liam. And just thinking about some of the other stuff we're going to be seeing. Yeah, probably going to want to switch out Blocky and Titania. They're certainly good Pokemon, but I want to give them a bit of a break. And sure, we'll bring in Velvet. I have been kind of meaning to retire Velvet at some point from being a main team member, just because her stats are kind of low compared to everyone else at this point. But, you know, she's still holding her own for the most part. So yeah, that should be a pretty good party for what we're going to be doing next. Alright, let's heal up. And then we're gonna go pop over to Wally's folks and see what they have to say. Also want to mention, for anyone who hasn't played Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, there's another little scene that comes up here in Petalburg City after you defeat your father, and I feel that's just a very cool character moment for him. Just another side of showing how proud he is that we were able to surpass him. Hi there, Hayden. Our Wally's become very healthy since he went to Verdanturk Town. We owe it all to you. When Wally left town, you helped him catch a Pokemon, right? I think that made Wally really happy. Actually, not just Wally. It made me, his father, happy too. Happy that he's got such a great friend as you. This isn't a bribe or anything, but I'd really like you to have this. And we get HM03. Easily the best hidden machine in the game. If your Pokemon can surf, you'll be able to go to all sorts of places. So this move is frickin' amazing. This is a 95 base damage water type attack that most Pokemon are able to learn. It's mostly a move that water types tend to excel at using, but there are some other Pokemon that can learn Surf, like Linoon is able to learn it. Definitely very helpful if you want some big damage on a water type, or if you're just looking for getting some, you know, just a pretty solid coverage move on some other Pokemon. Yeah, you're not really that much of a special attacker, so we'll go ahead and get rid of Bite. And with that, Filet finally has a move that he can get a stab bonus from. God, it took so frickin' long for this to happen. Sadly, we're not going to be able to take advantage of our massive physical attack with a water-type move in this game. However, if you're playing through Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, you actually can, and oh boy, is it good in that instance. So, we talk with Wally's father, but what does his mother have to say? I want you to keep this a secret from my husband, but our Wally left Verdanturf Town without telling anyone. You know, Wally is frail, but he's surprisingly strong-willed. I'm sure he'll come back safe and sound one day. Oh geez, looks like Wally has decided to take it upon himself to journey around as a trainer. I mean, good for him. Hope he's doing pretty well. So now that we have access to Surf, a ton of things have now opened up to us. Namely, if we check our map in the Pokénav, we now have access to the entire eastern section of the Hoenn map, up to a certain point. And we're able to revisit areas we have previously explored in order to get some new items, fight some more battles, and have more opportunities to capture Pokemon. So, yeah, we're definitely going to be spending the rest of this session going all throughout the Hoenn region and getting to see all the stuff that is now available to us. But before we do, I actually want to head back to our home. Oh, hey, Birch. Ah, Hayden. You come to show me if your Pokedex is coming along. Sure thing. So you've seen 86 Pokemon, you caught 38. Well, it could use more quantity, but this is looking more like a Pokedex now. Yeah, I like the touch that Professor Birch prefers to do field work, so you'll see him out in the route doing work. It's quite nice. So after we have dealt with our father, we want to return to our mother. Oh, did Dad give you that badge? Then here's something from your mom. Of course our bag is full. So what item is clogging up our inventory here? Of course. Let's give that to Velvet for now. And we'll take this item. So we get the Amulet Coin. This is a very good item. So the Amulet Coin is an item that will double the amount of money we win in trainer battles if the holder takes part in a fight. This is such a good item for being able to accumulate a large amount of wealth throughout the adventure, especially against certain trainers we'll be able to have matches with in the future. So that's definitely very nice. We'll want to definitely take advantage of this as we are going on this adventure. But yeah, that's pretty much everything I wanted to do back in Little Root Town for the time being. So, for the amount of stuff we're able to do, there's quite a few different paths that are open. And I do have one thing in particular that I want to do before we head off on the next section of our adventure. But before we do, I want to deposit a couple items that are clogging up our inventory here. So we definitely have too much of certain items. And we need to have some space to pick up the things I want. Okay, Velvet, we'll take the King's Rock off of you, and I would like you to be the holder of our Amulet Coin for the time being. So I feel like it could be a nice little thing that Velvet could hold on to while we're dealing with some things. And we don't need to worry about this spare King's Rock at the moment, so we'll deposit that. It's a shame we're not able to freely switch the items from our Pokemon in the PC. That didn't get introduced until Emerald, so I am a little saddened about that. Alright, so now that we have access to Surf, as well as our 5th gym badge, we are now able to cross water, which opens up a lot of new paths for us in our adventure, such as being able to access this part of Route 103, that normally we would have to take a very long detour in order to reach. So I'm definitely very thankful about that. And since we've actually managed to deal with our father, you know what that means? That means a new challenge at the Trickmaster's house is available to us. There you are. How'd you know I concealed myself behind this window? Dude, I could see you on the other side. So yeah, we got another trial that we're able to take part in here, now that we have bested our father. And this one is going to require strength. Luckily, we do have strength on a few of our Pokemon, so we should be good. So this one you definitely want to be careful. We got a maze that's chock full of boulders, and if you push one in the wrong direction, that will block the path. So you definitely want to be careful while navigating this place. We obviously got some fighting-type trainers to deal with. Velvet should be fine. She's dealt with her fair share of fighters. So while we're taking on the challenge here at the Trickmasters, what's some stuff that we can talk about? So I'm currently enjoying a 4-day break from work and been having a pretty good day so far. I actually went down for lunch and got myself a burrito and some nacho chips. So that was definitely very nice. So I had enjoyed a nice meal downtown. And I actually stopped by a shop in order to buy a present for my mom. So I went and got a plush of a tuxedo cat, as we used to have a tuxedo cat before it sadly passed away a few years ago. So I feel like that would be a nice gift to give her in order to remember our little friend that we had. Besides that, also been just taking care of a few other things. Like, my windowsill hasn't been dripping recently, so that's definitely good. I don't have to worry about that anytime soon. And I was playing a little bit of Mario Kart World earlier before this stream. It's pretty nice to revisit that game every now and then. Definitely a fun time. Even though I kind of want to go back to Mario Kart 8 sometime soon, just because that game has so many frickin' race courses, and I definitely enjoy Mario Kart World. It's got fantastic controls. And the tracks in that game are obviously very good, but the sheer quantity of what is in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is just so phenomenal. So I definitely want to go back to that at some point. And also in my spare time, I actually felt like going back to Celeste pretty recently. Ooh, we got a Breloom here. That is the evolution of Shroomish. This thing is a grass fighting type, so it's got a massive weakness to flying. Hopefully Velvet can handle this. Yep. Took you out pretty easily. Haha. And got a level up on Velvet. Oh, she wants to learn Attract. That would be good if we didn't have Flash. But yeah, we're not going to be learning that for now. I don't know how much longer we're going to be using Velvet. She's definitely put in some good work for this team, especially early on. But I don't know, I feel like we're getting pretty close to her limit. If anyone who is very familiar with these games, you know that a lot of bug-type Pokemon tend to fall off pretty quickly. I'm actually going to take Amulet Coin from you, and we will give that to Gladys. I don't really know if the King's Rock is that good for her right now, but it is nice to hold on to. Alright, so there's the scroll we need in order to maneuver to the end of this place. Honestly, not that bad of a puzzle. Alright, let's see what our prize from the Trickmaster is. So we get a Smoke Ball. So that is quite the unique held item. If a Pokemon is holding that item and you choose to run from an encounter, it basically works like the ability Runaway, where you are guaranteed to escape from a wild encounter. Can be quite nice if you're in a situation where you just want to avoid battles, but you have a pretty slow Pokemon that can't escape very easily. Alright, so now we've taken care of that, we are going to be heading back to Mauville City, as there's some stuff around here that's going to be pretty useful to us before we are going to be heading off on our next main objective. Like, obviously, we could advance the story by heading to the eastern part of the Hoenn region, but there is so much that opens up after you get Surf, and I want to take an opportunity to try and get as many new encounters as we have available to us. And who knows, might be encountering some permanent party members. Oh, hey, Watson. Oh, Hayden, you look like you have a lot of zip. That's a good thing. Ha ha ha. Fine, I've decided. I need a favor, Hayden. Mauville City has an underground sector called New Mauville. Hayden, I'd like you to go there and switch off the generator. The generator's been running a bit haywire. It's getting unsafe. Here, this is the key to get into New Mauville. Don't you worry about it. It won't be a challenge to you. The entrance to New Mauville's just a short surf away from Route 110. That's it then. You have my trust. Ha 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 ha. Yeah, so Watson there's definitely got himself an interesting little quest that we can take on now. And yeah, this one definitely opens up quite a bit. So I forgot to mention this before, but Mauville City has a completely different layout in the remakes compared to the original games, where this area is more like a shopping mall complex that's full of different shops and services that you can visit in this area, which is quite nice to get to experience. And another thing that's different with this place is that the side quests that we get from Watson, we would not have available to us until much later on in the adventure for whatever reason. Yeah, there are a few decisions they make in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire that I don't exactly gel with. They're still really good games. Just a few things I still have to nitpick every now and then. But yeah, we managed to get some good intel from Watson about what's coming up. And I actually want to have Blocky in our party for what we're going to be doing in a bit. Might actually be a good idea to swap Gladys out for Granite as well. We'll do that in a little bit, as what I want to do now is head to Route 118. This is normally where you go after acquiring Surf in order to make some more story progress. However, I want to talk to this guy. A good rod's really good, wouldn't you agree? Yes. We're of identical minds. Take this good rod. This item is real good, as you can expect. Wherever there's water, try your luck at fishing. So the good rod is an improved version of the old rod that we acquired before. So the old rod was only capable of catching Magikarp, Tentacool, and Goldeen in certain water spots, but the good rod will increase the amount of Pokemon that we are now able to obtain, which can be quite useful to us in our adventure. There's definitely a lot of water types that could be good to try and acquire, and that's going to be very useful to us, as the session is mainly going to be focused on catching Pokemon while we're exploring different areas. But yeah, let's swap Granite back into the party. Not too worried about the amulet coin, because we're going to an area that doesn't have any trainers that we need to deal with. Looking at what we're going to be doing. Yeah, let's swap Blocky into the front. I feel like that would be a good idea. Alright, so next thing we're going to take care of, let's check our Pokeballs. Might want to stock up on a few regular Pokeballs. We don't really need to worry too much now that we have Great Balls available to us, but having a good supply of regular Pokeballs is always good, you know? And I shouldn't have to worry about any other items we need to buy. Actually, we acquired some mail, so might as well sell that. And so I want to make sure we have enough free space for what we're going to be finding in this next area. So just give me a second. Just deposit some of these spare items, and we should be good. Another thing I want to do is try to see if there's any Pokemon that I'm keen on leveling up, because I did acquire a couple rare candies, and those could be quite nice to give to our team. Specifically, there's one Pokemon that I could feel could benefit from those levels, and that is Titania, as she is pretty close to the level where she needs to evolve. So over here in the water, we can of course encounter wild Pokemon while we are surfing across the water. Mostly you're going to be running into Tentacool and Wingull when you're on the surface of water. Depending on the area though, you can also acquire some other ones. We'll go ahead and use our basement key to open up this door, granting us access to New Mauville. Alright. So in here, we got ourselves a few different Pokemon that we are able to catch. The main gimmick in this area is that in order to navigate it, we need to activate certain switches that we find all over the place. Blue switches will open blue doors, while green switches will open green doors. And our encounter here is Voltorb. It's definitely a Pokemon I'm very familiar with from our previous stream sessions of Fire Red. So Voltorb here you want to watch out for, as it does know self-destruct. We're going to be using Sandstorm to weaken this thing, just because I do not trust it surviving a slash. And let's just chuck some balls. Yeah, we have plenty of good items here. We'll go for the Ultra Ball. So Voltorb here could be real good. It's one of the fastest Pokemon you can run into in the game. Offensively, pretty much the main thing it's going to be doing is doing damage with moves like Thunderbolt. So that's what we want to go for with this Pokemon. Voltorb is extremely sensitive. It explodes at the slightest of shocks. It's rumored that it was first created when a Pokeball was exposed to a powerful pulse of energy. Though specifically modern Pokeballs, as Voltorb is obviously mechanical in nature, despite being a pure electric type. Alright, so what are we gonna call you? Okay, I got a bit of a funny name idea for you. So, back in the day, the way Pokeballs used to be made in the lore of the series is that they were made from a type of fruit called apricorns. So, I thought it would be fun if we named our Voltorb Zapricorn. Yeah, I don't know, that just came to me and I thought, why not? Alright, but now that we dealt with that, I'm actually going to use our Super Repel so that we can avoid wild encounters in here. So we're going to be dealing with a lot of different puzzles in this area, and I want to try to get through here as quick as we can without worrying too much about encounters. Let's check over here. There might be some hidden things you want to watch out for, so make use of your item finder every now and then. So I'm pretty sure, yeah, that's just a path back to the stairs. We're going to avoid that and head over this way. Also want to watch out when you're checking some of the items around here, as some of the item balls here will not be items, but will instead be hidden Voltorb. Yeah, Voltorb was actually introduced in this series to serve the role as a mimic, where a regular Pokeball you would see on the ground would actually turn out to be a Voltorb. It's a pretty fun concept of this specific Pokemon. And the other Pokemon you would be able to encounter in this area would be Magnemite, as you're also able to run into these here. Magnemite, I would definitely say, is better than Voltorb. For one, it's part Steel, which is just such a great typing to give it. And it's a great special attacker while also being a good tank, as it has really good defense. So, definitely has its advantages over Voltorb. I still like Voltorb good enough. Like, clearly, as you can see from my Fire Red streams, I did use Voltorb quite nicely in that run. But yeah, it is definitely on the weaker side compared to the sheer amount of strengths that Magnemite gets. And also a nice benefit if you're playing Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire is that by training up a Magnemite in the area that you catch it here in New Mauville, you'd actually be able to get it into its final form of Magnezone. So that's definitely a very nice benefit to using that specific Pokemon here. I'm gonna go ahead and use a potion. Don't have to worry too much about attacks from these guys, except for Sonic Boom, as that is able to cut through defense. At the very least, we don't have to worry about their electric attacks. Another neat bit of trivia, personally, with Voltorb, to me, is that Voltorb was actually the first shiny Pokemon I ever encountered back when I was playing Leaf Green back in the day. Though, sadly, I didn't manage to catch that thing, which is certainly disappointing. Would have been fun in order to have caught a Voltorb back in the Gen 3 games, then bring it all the way up to the modern era Pokemon, which I have actually done with a few of my other shiny Pokemon I've acquired. Like, in my Leaf Green game, I managed to get a shiny Slowbro that I caught in, like, the last dungeon of the game. And besides that, that's pretty much the only shiny that I ever encountered in the Generation 3 games. At least officially. Like, back when I streamed Emerald, I did manage to acquire a shiny Oddish in the process of trying to hunt down a certain other Pokemon. And then, of course, when I was grinding in my Fire Red streams, I actually managed to acquire a shiny Mankey at one point, though I sadly was not able to catch it live when I was streaming. So that was a little disappointing there. So now we've managed to shut down the generator and acquired the last of the items here. It's time to vamoose. We can quickly use Dig from our boy Blocky here to instantly escape from a cave. Basically, it has the same utility as using a escape rope, which is quite nice. So now we've taken care of all that business in New Mauville. Let's go talk to Watson. I knew it, Hayden! I knew I made the right choice asking you! This is my thanks, a TM containing Thunderbolt! Go on, you've earned it! So yeah, this is why I didn't feel the need to buy a Thunderbolt TM from the Game Corner, because you get one for free by helping out Watson here. It pleases me to know when to see the young step up and take charge. Yeah, you would be happy of exploiting another person for your own personal benefit, wouldn't you, sir? So, the item we acquired at the end of New Mauville is a Thunderstone. That's an evolution item that, at this point in the series, only works on 2 Pokemon. One of which we are not going to be seeing until a little bit later in our adventure. So, yeah, not much can be done about that. Well, let's take a look at Zapricorn. Ooh, it's got a mild nature. That actually increases special attack. And we are kind of needing an electric-type Pokemon in our roster. That could be very nice for us to have. Alright, considering what we're going to be doing next, yeah, I feel like adding Zapricorn to our ranks would be quite beneficial to us. And let's bring in Gladys as well, as kind of feeling like we don't want our we don't want to be having our ground-type Pokemon with us in this stage of the game, since we're going to be going through mostly water areas. So, Zapricorn here. Yep, you got a very beneficial nature for your species, as that's going to increase the special attacks you deal. Which, since you have access to... Oh, wow, you actually don't have self-destruct at this level. Nice. So yeah, you definitely got some good stuff on you at the moment. But what I would like to do is... we need to give you the experience share, as I would like that as a mean to be able to level him up in between doing some of our things we're going to be doing today. So I've also been using experience share, obviously, to level up some of the other Pokemon that we have in our PC that I didn't feel like actually using in battle. And it's definitely been helpful for a good number of fights. We'll give you that, and then I also want to deposit the Thunderstone, as we're not going to be using this thing for quite a while. Yeah, there's only one Pokemon that we can use to evolve this in this game, and it's probably a Pokemon we're not going to encounter just because it is only in one certain area, and yeah, that could be interesting to go into a bit later. So yeah, Voltorb could be quite nice to us. It has low defenses and HP, but it's very fast and hits hard. So Zapricorn could be a very useful team member. We could teach you Thunderbolt now, but I feel like Spark is going to be plenty useful for the time being. Alright, so now we've taken care of that. I'm just going to quickly update a few things here. So I actually have a spreadsheet open in another tab, and I'm going to be using this to keep track of all of the catches that we are going to be doing throughout this session. So that's going to be very nice. I believe your ability was soundproof. They can also have static as an ability, I believe, which will paralyze a Pokemon if they make contact. Yeah, you have soundproof, so that just blocks sound-based attacks like Supersonic and Uproar. Alright, so now that we have Voltorb, we definitely have a lot that we're able to do at this point. So pretty much we have free reign to explore the entirety of the western side of Hoenn now that we have access to Surf. So how about we go take a gander at some areas that are now available to us. So first, I actually want to head back to Petalburg City, as there's something I've been holding off on getting there until quite a while. Let's go ahead and equip our Acrobike. Still holding on to the Acrobike, as it's going to be useful to something we're going to be seeing eventually. But yeah, the rest of the session's mainly going to be spent dealing with exploring some areas and catching some new Pokemon. So bear with me as we are embarking on this section of our adventure. Alright, our first major stop we're going to be making is over in Petalburg City. It's not going to take too long for us to get over here. So, in Emerald, you would actually encounter some trainers in the water over there, but they aren't in Ruby and Sapphire for whatever reason. Kind of a weird choice, honestly. Now, we are coming back here to Petalburg City, as there are some new Pokemon that can be obtained in this area. And I specifically wanted to wait until we got the Good Rod, as there's a specific Pokemon that's able to show up here only if you have the Good Rod. So I wanted to wait until then to see if we could obtain it. Oh, there it is! Corphish! It's a water-type Pokemon that can only be obtained in fresh water if you have the Good Rod. So this thing is mainly a physical attacker, which is not very beneficial considering its stats and its ability. I mean, its typing. It eventually becomes a water dark type, and it's actually a pretty cool Pokemon. I definitely used them in a few other games, though they're not really the best here in Gen 3 for obvious reasons. But don't worry, once we get around to the Generation 4 games, it actually starts to get really good. Alright, so let's try and catch this thing. We got plenty of Great Balls, so might as well use these on you. I'm actually really happy we're able to do this, as I haven't really gotten opportunities to use Corphish in a Nuzlocke run. I mean, I caught one in my Soul Silver run, and that one would have been pretty fun to use had I not been focusing on other Pokemon. But yeah, we got Corphish, the ruffian Pokemon. Corphish catches prey with its sharp claws. It has no likes or dislikes when it comes to food. It will eat anything. This Pokemon has no trouble living in filthy water. Alright, so what are we going to name this Pokemon? Just thinking of our potential options here. What are we going to call you? Okay, I got a bit of an idea, even if it is kind of stupid. We are going to name you Clobber, because it sounds like clobber, and claw, yeah. It's kind of a stupid name, but trust me, I think it is endearing. I just want to check on something here. Okay, that should be good. Alright, so let me quickly type in our notes here about this guy. Quite happy we actually managed to get this guy, because I haven't really had too many opportunities to use Corphish in my Nuzlocke runs. Alright, let's go to the center and check on this guy's statistics. We're actually pretty close to seeing this guy evolve, too, so who knows? Could have future use on this team, depending on how things go. So you are Bashful Nature. Alright, so you're about neutral. You can see here it's definitely more of a physical attacker. And it does have good defense, so that's always nice. But it is on the slow side, and it's not really going to benefit too much from its stab types. But it gets Protect naturally, so you know, that's pretty good. Alright, just let me fill out our spreadsheet here, and we should be good. And I believe you evolve at level 30. Okay, that takes care of that. Very nice. Alright, so you are gonna be decent backup in case things happen, I believe. And we should be done there. Alright. let's go heal up at the center, and then we can kind of see some of the different things we're able to do around here that are now available to us. So what we want to do with Surf is check out any areas that have ponds, as there's usually a hidden thing you can see just off screen. Like, we could check over here and get a Max Revive. So normally that's one of the best healing items you can get, as Max Revives will fully replenish the HP of a fainted Pokemon. However, like I said before, this is a Nuzlocke run, so revival items are off limits. We're gonna go ahead and sell this. They actually do sell quite nicely, so that's always a good thing to grab these things. But yeah, there are a limited supply of Max Revives you can obtain in the game, and they are not available in shops. So definitely make sure you pick those up if you're playing a normal run of Pokemon. Ooh, rare candy. That's always good. Might be beneficial to give one of these to our ball once you get trained up a bit. And we get an Ether. Quite nice. So I don't believe there's anything else hidden around here. Yep, we grabbed all the things here. Very nice. And I believe there's also a new item that we can get if we were to head to the path to Rustboro. So we're going to be making a quick pit stop just past Petalburg Woods before we handle some of the other things we're going to be doing here. I really don't see much need of battling any Pokemon in here. Especially because they're so low level, they're not going to get much experience compared to what we would get in other areas. But at the very least, now that we have Surf, that opens up so much new things that we're able to do. Oh, come on. I want to go for Sonic Boom on this thing because Cascoon just can't do anything, so this thing is free experience. There we go. There you go, Zapricorn. You actually managed to get something. So, back here on Route 104, I forgot to show this off before when we were in this area, but now that we've acquired Secret Power, we're actually able to buy furniture for our secret bases here. We're able to buy an assortment of different plants, and I'm probably just going to pick up a simple red plant for our base. We're not going to worry too much about secret bases in this run, as they're really not all that important. If you're playing through... if you're playing Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, though, the bases are very beneficial, because you can set up a bed inside a secret base, and then you can use that as a free healing spot in the middle of a route. Definitely quite useful if you want some quick and easy healing. You grab a PP up over here. Oh, that is really good. Really good indeed. Alright, so I believe that's everything we can get around here. As I love the effect of the wind blowing across the surface of the water. It's a very nice little detail here. It's definitely a lot of little details that make me really appreciate the jump from the Generation 2 games to Generation 3. Because these games still look really good to this day. I feel like Gen 3 really aged pretty well. If we visit Mr. Briny's place, now they've acquired Surf, he's not actually available here or at the previous route we saw him. So that's definitely interesting. Not going to be ferried by him anymore. But now it's time to hit the waves. So we got a lot of different things I want to show off. So we're still on Route 104 at the moment, so I'm not going to worry too much about encountering things here. But we can get some easy experience on this Wingull. Since Wingull are water flying type, they take a lot of damage from electric types. But now we've moved to Route 105, and this is a new area where we can acquire new Pokemon. So, how about we bring out a good rod and see what we can catch? So I believe in the water, there's at least one new Pokemon that's available to us by fishing. So it could be beneficial to try and fish one up and see what we can get. So it could be nice if we could run into a water type that has a very beneficial nature. Like, I'm very happy that we have our Gyarados, but I would also like to have a water type that has a beneficial nature and can actually make use of water type moves effectively. As our Gyarados isn't going to be the best at dealing water damage, believe it or not. Yeah, but still a solid Pokemon, but, you know, its special attack is still not as good as its physical attack, so it has a certain niche that it fulfills compared to other Pokemon. Come on, I know that we can find this thing with a good rod. Just need to be persistent, and it should appear. Also, I think you need to search in a specific tile for these Pokemon. I know that's going to be a thing in a certain route, but we don't need to worry about that anytime soon. Sometimes with a good rod, you do need to try and reel in a Pokemon multiple times. There you are! Whoa, level 28! That is a really good level to see you at, my dude. Alright, let's switch Zappercorn out because you are a bit on the lower side. Fillet is a good match here because you can just lower its HP with Dragon Rage. So let's do this. So Wailmer is one of the encounters we can get here, and ooh, you have Rollout. Yeah, we gotta watch out for that with this thing. So Wailmer here. This Pokemon is more of an HP tank. It's pretty decent at being able to take hits, all things considered, and it is reasonably strong. The main thing we want out of this Pokemon is that it's one of the few Pokemon that can get the move Water Spout, which is an insanely powerful water-type move in a lot of ways. It can be really beneficial to have this Pokemon in your team. And, in fact, this Pokemon is also pretty important if you want to take care of a certain side quest that will open up opportunities to catch other Pokemon later on. But for now, we got ourselves Wailmer, the ball whale Pokemon. Wailmer can store water inside its body to transform itself into a ball for bouncing around on the ground. By filling itself up with more water, this Pokemon can elevate the height of its bounces. So got ourselves essentially a beach ball-like whale. So, what are we gonna call this thing? I got myself a bit of an idea here, so I thought that we could call you Scurvy. Yarr! I don't know, it just seemed kind of fitting for a water Pokemon, especially one of this physique. Alright, so we'll definitely want to fill in some information about this thing. Like, I know we got it Route 105. So we're not going to be able to see all of its statistics until later, but I do want to fill in a bit. And you don't evolve until level 40, so that takes care of that. Alright, pretty good. Alright, so not going to worry too much about catching Pokemon until a little bit, as the next couple of routes we have actually fished up some Pokemon in. So we're just going to be focusing on taking care of some of the trainers we can see in this area. Swimmer Dawn. I actually share the name of one of my favorite Pokemon characters here. Alright, so while we're doing some battles in this area, I want to mention a couple things that have also been happening pretty recently. Ooh, good work, Zappercorn. So, last night, something that I checked out was a stream done by someone I follow called Snapcube, where she was going through The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time the last couple of months. and she actually managed to finish the game last night, which is pretty good considering she started that session having to do the stuff with the doing all the stuff in the Gerudo Fortress and the stuff leading into the Spirit Temple. And then after that, she just went into the end game and managed to finish up the adventure. And it was quite fun getting to check out her stream. Now, it did take so long for things to go in the order that they did that I did end up having to call it a night when she was about a third of the way through the final dungeon. But, you know, it's still fun getting to check out the stream as much as I did. And I actually got to check out the end of her VOD this morning, and definitely fun getting to see her naturally pick up what she was supposed to do in order to finally defeat Ganon. It was such a fun time watching that final battle. Yeah. It's definitely pretty fun checking that out, considering that I had previously played through Ocarina of Time over on my Twitch channel back in the day. And of course, I have the VODs for that playthrough uploaded onto my YouTube channel now. So that was definitely a fun thing to get to experience again. I have such high opinions on Ocarina, and I'm very happy that she enjoyed her time with the game. And I'm very excited to see her eventually tackle some of the later games in the series. Especially Majora's Mask, because she said she was really excited about checking that one out. And that's also a game that I have played previously, though that one was played on my YouTube channel, so you can check out the full playthrough I did of Majora's Mask. It was definitely a fun time going through that game. One of my favorite streams that I did over the last couple of months. Managed to take out another trainer here, getting a well-earned level from Zappercorn. I know I have the experience share on him right now, and it's not really doing anything beneficial. But we have a lot of trainers around here that use water-type Pokemon, so I feel like having him in the lead is just a good idea, you know? I mean, I keep using he, him pronouns on Zappercorn, but Voltorp's one of the few Pokemon that does not have a gender. As you can see, it does not have a male or female symbol next to its name. That means that it is a genderless Pokemon. Or you could also interpret as being non-binary, which I can fully understand myself personally. So having a Pokemon be genderless or non-binary does open up a few different things to consider. For one, genderless Pokemon are incapable of breeding except with another Pokemon called Ditto, which is basically the only way you can acquire eggs from genderless Pokemon. And another thing you want to consider is that moves like Attract have no effect on genderless Pokemon. So that's definitely another thing to watch out for. Also, if you're doing certain challenge runs that require you to capture a certain Pokemon of a specific gender to fill out your team, then I don't know how you would interpret the non-binary Pokemon. Like, you could try to label them as being basically a free parking, where you have of just that on your team, but I don't know. It's not anything I've ever had to worry about, because I've never had to do a run where I was specifically limiting myself to a certain gender of Pokemon. And, you know, it really doesn't matter too much in the long run. Alright, there's still a few things around 105 I want to check out. So over this way we can pick up an iron. Very good. And there might be some other things hidden in the sand. Yeah, around here you definitely want to be careful when checking these areas, as these little islets can usually have something good if you are persistent in checking them out. Doesn't look like there's anything over here, though. Yeah, but should be higher up. So let's head over to this little islet, and we should be able to get you. Yep, we got a heart scale. So that'll be nice if we want to relearn moves on certain Pokemon. So obviously you want to take those to the move tutor over in Foliber Town if you want to relearn attacks. Some of the other stuff I've been checking out recently, so I've been following the commentary that Brain Scratch Comms has been doing pretty recently, where they're going through Jack 2, which is a pretty interesting addition to the Jak and Daxter series. One that I actually have acquired myself in recent years, and I have been meaning to revisit that game for a number of reasons. Ooh, nope, 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 nope. You are not learning self-destruct. This is a Nuzlocke run. That thing is instant death. But yeah, I have been meaning to return to Jak 2 at some point, because I do want to fully experience the Jak and Daxter series, as I had a lot of good memories with the original game back when I was a kid, and definitely interesting to get to see just how much the series has changed over the years, with them positioning to a more serious angle in some of the more recent entries. Okay, Zapricorn, you have the experience share on you, so you'll just hang in the back while we do this fight. So this guy's mentioning something about a mystic rock. Wonder what he could be talking about. I see you got that big magnifying glass there, buddy. So I've got some Ruin Maniacs around here, which definitely has us wondering what exactly they could be investigating in this area. Well, that'll be something we can discuss eventually. But for now, let's just wipe out this team. Yeah, I definitely knew this guy would have a Sand Slash, and that thing could be really nasty. But now that we have Surf, we can finally do super effective damage to these things with Fillet. God, feels so good finally having a water attack on this massive sea monster. Because I was certainly lacking having, like, any water moves for a good chunk of this adventure. God. Feels so good to finally have this in our arsenal. And in terms of some other things I've been checking out pretty recently, so my buddy Master Starman has been going through Pikmin 2 pretty recently, and I've been kind of itching to get back into the Pikmin series pretty soon. Like, I definitely want to revisit Pikmin 4, because that game is awesome. And I do want to revisit Pikmin 1 and 2 at some point as well. Just because with my experience with playing through the more modern Pikmin games these days, I definitely feel like my Dandori has been pretty good lately, so I feel like I would be able to breeze through Pikmin 1 pretty quickly now. Because it's just such a game that is so well suited to going through the game just as fast as possible, while also trying to accomplish as many tasks as you can within a certain time limit. God, it's such a great game. I want to play through it again pretty soon. Yeah, once I find the time and motivation for it. And obviously I want to revisit Pikmin 2, because as much as I do like that game, it does have its fair share of grievances that anyone who has played for that game definitely recognizes. Like, we're all in agreement that it is the weakest game out of the entire quadrilogy, right? You know, besides, hey, Pikmin, but we're all in agreement that one doesn't count. But over here in the upper section of Route 105, we have this very strange rock formation up here. There's not much we can do with that for the time being, but you want to remember that for later, especially if you are persistent with some of the quests we can do around here. Whoa! So that is quite the beefy Pokemon! So this is Pelipper, the evolution of Wingull. It is more of a defensive Pokemon, but could still be quite useful. So I previously used a Pelipper when I did a run of Emerald back in my Twitch days, and she was quite the good party member, all things considered. Ooh, we picked up an iron, right. So don't really have a lot of defensive Pokemon in our current team. I guess we'll give that to Carl, because he could use some extra benefit there, I suppose. Alright, we're like one level away from being able to use our rare candy on Zappercorn. But for now, let's try to make our way back over to... So at this point, I feel like we dealt with most of the trainers we can in this area, so we should be good to head back to Dewford Town. I want to see what else we could potentially run into up here, because we may have missed a trainer. I know we were sticking to sort of the right side of the route. Okay, with that, Zappercorn has now depleted his Spark. But we actually have an item that can restore power points. So let's go ahead and do this. I don't normally use power point restoring items until we have entered around the point where we're facing the last challenge of the game, but, you know. Okay, I think that's actually all the trainers we can do in this area. Okay. So let's double back to the south and see if we can get over to Dewford. It's actually pretty nice once you have acquired Surf, being able to go across these routes that previously you needed to take the ship with Mr. Briny to be able to navigate. It's quite the cool feeling getting to revisit these areas. Seriously, level 8? I'm not even gonna bother using Spark against you, you're that weak. Ow, could you not do that? My hubris! Oh, my hubris has cost me, for we are now poisoned. It's okay, we have healing items. I am not too concerned about this. Just get out of here, you. Ah, frickin' jellyfish getting in my way. Even though it's a Pokemon I actually really like. Alright, so now we dealt with that. Let's head on down south. Okay, I'm not going to be foolish. This time we're actually going to electrocute you. Get lost. And in terms of some other things I've been doing lately, like I've also been checking out Chugga Conroy's recent playthroughs, where he's going through Pokemon Soul Silver, and that's definitely been a very fun time checking out those vids. As I've actually been revisiting my own Soul Silver game I started last year. God, it's crazy to think about that. But it's been a pretty fun time revisiting those games, as I do have a lot of fond memories of going through Heart Gold and Soul Silver back in the day. And it's been pretty fun with the team I've been building. Like, very recently, I was in the Safari Zone trying to catch some Pokemon to potentially see what I could use. And I actually managed to acquire a Mr. Mime that had a really good nature for it. So I decided to train it up and add it to my team, which is going to be really good because Psychic types are obviously going to be useful against a lot of the Poison types that you can expect to see in the Johto and Kanto regions. So that was very nice to get added to my team. I give up! Yeah, you should. Trying to spray acid on my mechanical sphere. So we can get a protein over here. Very nice. So how about we give that to one of our physical fighters? We'll give that to... Yeah, Carl could benefit from that. So we'll give you the protein. And I actually believe there's not any other items we need to worry about here. Yeah, this is a section of this area we have previously visited. and there shouldn't be any other trainers we need to worry about in the water. I'm still going to be fighting a few things here just because I know we are pretty close to leveling up Zappercorn. And once it gets to 29, we are popping that rare candy. So I do not want to delay this any further. Okay, we made it to Dewford Town. Pretty nice. So we're going to go ahead and heal up at the center, so that we are all good. And how about we check on the Pokemon that we have recently caught? So we did manage to get one new guy. So yeah, we got Scurvy here, and you are lonely. I don't think you learn that... Well, I don't think you get that many physical attacks. Like, you might be able to learn Earthquake, but besides that, I don't really feel like that's going to be too useful on you, as I want that move for a ground Pokemon. But yeah, you are a decent Pokemon, all things considered. Not really something I'm planning on using on this team, at least until much later, depending on how things go. But, you know, you're a good encounter. Definitely happy to have you on board. And while we're here, let's deposit some of the items we've been picking up, because we got quite a good number. Put away the heart scale, and that should be it. Alright, so now we've taken care of that. So I actually want to head back into the Trendy House, as something new happens after you've acquired Surf. For me, Sludge Bomb is at the peak of popularity. It's the one. Huh? You're telling me you don't know about Sludge Bomb? That's outright pitiful. I'll give you one. So this guy gives us the TM for Sludge Bomb. I love Sludge Bomb, but Pokemon with the preposterous Vacation move are in too. Oh no, does that mean the trendy saying has changed? I guess we have been here a while. Have you heard about this new preposterous Vacation? That's right, of course you know. I mean, sheesh, preposterous Vacation is the hottest thing and cool. Wherever you're from, preposterous Vacation is the biggest happening thing, right? Yeah, sure, whatever you say, kid. Oh man, that is quite the interesting development here. But yeah, that TM we just picked up, Sludge Bomb, is pretty much the strongest Poison-type move that we will be seeing in this game. It's, I believe, 90 base power and has a chance of poisoning targets. Definitely a good move to give to whatever poison types you may be using, like giving it to Tentacool or Grimer. It could be good. So I don't believe we need to worry about anything else here. Yeah, we healed up at the center, so our stuff is replenished. And yep, I believe that's pretty much everything I wanted to do around here. So now, we can head to Route 107. So I don't believe there's any new Pokemon we can acquire by fishing on this route, so I feel like now's a good chance for us to knock Wingull off of our encounter pool here. That's weaken you with Sonic Boom. There we go. And you should be a pretty easy catch. We're just going to use a regular Pokeball on you. So yeah, Wingull, I'm not too concerned about. It's good to eliminate it now because it's such a common Pokemon in the water, so you're definitely going to be catching one of these if you're playing the Hoenn games. We got ourselves a Wingull. Wingull rides updrafts, rising from the sea by extending its long and narrow wings to glide. This Pokemon's long beak is useful for catching prey. It's definitely a nice addition here. And I am feeling we will call you Gulliver, after a certain NPC from the Animal Crossing series. Let's go ahead and check your status while we're here. Not really counting on this thing to be too good, but we'll see. So, Gulliver here is Calm. So that lowers your physical attack, which isn't too bad for you. That's mainly going to weaken your flying stab. But besides that, it's not too awful. You do have Keen Eye, of course, which is always good. So sadly, this is not the generation where these Pokemon have access to the ability Drought. That is specifically in Generation 7 where they get that ability, which would make this a phenomenal Pokemon to add to our team, being able to set up the rain anytime. But yeah, we're not going to worry about that. This is certainly a decent Pokemon, but not one we're going to be using anytime soon. Okay, so I think we are just about ready to head off to the next route. And there are actually a couple more routes coming up, but I don't believe we're going to be encountering any new Pokemon in these areas. Yeah, around this point, we've basically gotten most of the Pokemon that can be acquired by surfing or by using our rod. Because in the water, pretty much all you're going to be seeing around here is Magikarp, Tentacool, and Wailmer. And on the surface, you just encounter the Tentacool and the Wingull family. If you're surfing around in ponds, you can also encounter Marill, as we have seen here. But sadly, those guys aren't around in this area, because this is a saltwater area. You can also encounter Goldeen by fishing in fresh water, and that would have been one of the encounters we could have gotten in Petalburg City instead of Corphish, but it's not really anything I'm concerned about anytime soon. Actually, I'm thinking we might not use our rare candy on Zapricorn. Just with the amount of experience he's getting right now, and since we're mostly going to be dealing with water types in this area, yeah, he's just going to be soaking up free experience, basically. So go ahead, buddy. Go ahead and consume. Absorb their nutrients into your body so that you can grow. Alright, so what's something else that we could talk about? So pretty recently, my friend Master Starman has started to replay a game that he was streaming before that I was quite excited to get to see him revisit, where it's a Pokemon fan hack that pretty much replaces all of the encounters in the game from having Pokemon to having a bunch of Mario characters, and also completely redoes the map so that it is like you're playing through a Pokemon game in the Mario universe. And my god, is it something that I've really wanted to experience myself sometime soon. It'd definitely be a fun time to check out, and I'm definitely planning to stream it at some point on this channel. But after we get done with Sapphire, I'm most likely taking a break from anything Pokemon related for the rest of the year, so we are not going to be playing that anytime soon. But I would like to check out that game at some point next year. I feel like that would be a very fun time for us to go through. And I have in mind some specific things that I would like to try to do in that particular run that I feel like would be very nice. Let's finish this thing with a quick attack, and there we go. Just completely forgetting to talk about this, but we're facing swimmers around this area, and obviously swimmers specialize in using water-type Pokemon. So you can expect to see a lot of those in their teams. Not really much else to it. And we had a rare instance of a double battle here, where we have a little brother and his big sister teaming up against you. Quite the unique formation. It's always nice to get to see these kind of pairings. Hey, Tony! God, this just reminded me of this one content creator. I remember watching their videos back in the day, where their impression of like a cisgender male character is them basically going, "Hey, Tony!" Oh, God. But now Zappercorn has reached level 30, so it's time for him to upgrade. Level up, proceed to reach, beginning evolution protocol. Evolution protocol complete. Electro now online. Very, very good. So now we got ourselves Electrode. This is quite good, as you can see. Obviously, its defenses aren't that great, but look at that speed. We are basically going to outspeed everything else in this game with Zappercorn. And now that you're all trained up, I'm going to go ahead and give you Thunderbolt. I believe it's finally time. And don't worry, we can always purchase more Thunderbolt TMs by going to the game corner, so we're not going to be wasting this item. I just feel like it would be very beneficial to give this move to Zappercorn now. But yeah, this is going to make you even deadlier in battle. Because that Thunderbolt is, combined with your high speed, you are just going to be annihilating everything in our path. Confirmed. You know a little town called Duford? Oh yeah, I just came from there. So Denise here got a Wingull. Oh, you are not going to like what's going to happen. Actually, we're just going to use Spark. We don't need much to take this thing out since you're a water flying type. But yeah, you definitely see that Zappercorn is going to be a beast on this team. And a very good addition. So I would highly recommend picking up an electric type in this run of this game, as electric type Pokemon are super useful in the later stages of Ruby and Sapphire, since we're going to be encountering a lot of water type Pokemon in the future. So this makes these Pokemon very useful to have in battle. Highly recommend picking these guys up. And we're definitely not short on options when it comes to electric types. I mean, we had Electrike, Plusle, and Minun, which have been available for quite a while, and we just gained access to Voltorb and Magnemite. In fact, if you are playing Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, those games also will give you the ability to access Voltorb and Magnemite even earlier than you can in this game. So, you know, that's always a nice benefit. Yeah, I am very happy to have this Pokemon right now. I obviously have a lot of attachment to the Voltorb family, as it was a pretty good team member back when I did my original Pokemon Blue Nuzlocke so frickin' far back. And obviously I used Electrode during my Pokemon Fire Red Nuzlocke streams, and it was also very beneficial to us. So yeah, I'm very happy having Zappercorn in the party. I know they are going to do so much good work for us. And especially with the next gym coming up, I can see them being very damn useful in some of the fights we're going to be doing. Ah, sorry about that, bro. So definitely want to check some of the areas around here, as there tends to be a lot of hidden goodies you can find around the rocks on this route. And we could also run into this. So we got ourselves a very unique dungeon. This is the Abandoned Ship. And I just remembered I need to take the experience share off Zappercorn, because you don't need that anymore. What could we give you as a held item at this point? We really don't have anything. You know what, Gladys, you still have the amulet coin? Yeah, let's give that to Zappercorn for the time being. So the abandoned ship here is quite the unique location. This is a ship that for whatever reason ended up being abandoned in this area. And now we can explore it at our leisure. Ships of this sort are rare, so I'm taking a look around. There appear to be other cabins. You want to be very thorough when exploring this place. There is so much that can be found here, and some of the things here I would say are integral in your journey, especially with some of the battles coming up. So explore as much as you can. But yeah, this is just such a unique set piece, getting to explore this old, decrepit ship, getting to plunder all of the booty that's been left behind. It's a very cool area to get to explore. So this area is also very unique in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, as this area is recontextualized as like a abandoned facility that was being developed alongside Mauville City. And a lot of the people that work for Mauville are also associated with this location. So it's a pretty cool bit of lore getting to explore an area that was associated so heavily with another area, and just getting like all the lore drops about what the development of this area was like. Definitely pretty worried about this Macho, because I know this thing has access to revenge, and that could do a lot of damage to our team. But we were able to push through and defeat it. Very good. Okay, Zappercorn, you're level 31 now, so let's give you a bit of a break. And let's give the... No, I don't want to give Harbor Mail to our Pokemon. That is a useless item to us. Especially because I already have the coin case. There, you take the amulet coin. We check this door. It is a storage room that is currently locked. Ew, I shouldn't have looked in there. Ooh, I'm getting queasy just being aboard this ship. It's not even moving, but... Ugh. If we head over to this area, there is a section here that is open and has some water that we can surf in. There's pretty much no reason to surf in there or to check with our fishing rod, as we'll just encounter the same Pokemon we've already encountered before. But there we get ourselves a pretty unique item. So this is a Dive Ball. It's a Pokeball that works better on Pokemon caught on the ocean floor. Quite interesting. Might want to remember that for later. And if we examine this cabin, we can get an escape rope. Yeah, that's pretty nice. We don't really need escape ropes at this point because we have a Pokemon with Dig, but, you know, it's still nice. Yes, kid, this is indeed a ship. Ah! What's so funny about having my inner tube aboard this ship? I don't know. I mean, you're definitely safe with that thing on you. Yeah, not too worried about what this kid's got. Tubers tend to have pretty low-tier Pokemon, so... yeah, we're not going to expect to see anything dangerous here. But at the very least, we're able to get a lot of good prize money. So I freaking love... I think there was a one Pokemon comic that I saw before, where someone... undefeated trainers go, and the person's like, well, you beat me fair and square, and here, you can take your prize money as a token of goodwill. And then the person goes, my Pokemon was holding an amulet coin, so you owe me more money. Just, God, that was such a fun thing to think about. Oh yeah, the Odd Ones Out actually made that joke, I forgot. No, we're looking for some treasure, but we only found a trainer. So here we got a new double battle formation here. A young couple. We actually encountered these back in Fire Red. It's quite the nice little pairing where we got ourselves a couple that are fighting together. So this instance, they tend to use Pokemon that complement each other. So in this case, we have an Ilamise and a Volbeat. So I believe Ilamise are more common in Ruby, whereas Volbeat are more common in Sapphire. Yeah, there's really not much else to these Pokemon. They have pretty poor stats. They're only bug type, so they don't really have anything really going for them. They're mainly here in order to inflict statuses on you, and then that's it. So I guess something else to mention is that Volbeat does have access to the move Tail Glow, which can actually be pretty good when it comes to raising stats. But besides that, these guys really aren't that special. Which I really feel bad with saying because I love bug-type Pokemon. It's just these ones have to suck so much. Ugh. But now we've taken care of that, we can head to the upper level of the abandoned ship. I'm investigating the ship on behalf of Captain Stern. He also asked me to find a scanner, but I haven't had any success. So I want to remember that for later. But if we check this cabin, we can obtain the storage key. So now we can take that over to the storage cabin that we saw before. The inserted key stuck fast, but the door opened. And by heading in here, we can now grab TM13. This is one of my favorite items in the entire game. Ice Beam teaches a 95 base power ice-type attack that has a chance of freezing the opponent. This is such a great move, one of my favorites in the entire series, and believe me when I say this is going to be really useful in the next gym battle coming up. You want to grab this item, especially if you're doing a Nuzlocke run. But with that taken care of, we've done basically everything we can do in our first visit to the abandoned ship. We are going to return here later on in order to fully uncover the secrets of this place, but you don't need to worry about that for the time being. Another thing I like with the version of this area in the remakes is that it's one of the few places where not only can you acquire a legendary Pokemon, but you can also acquire a very elusive Pokemon in the series called Spiritomb, which I freaking love the encounter with that thing, how you're just investigating one of the cabins, and then if you go and check your inventory and then go back onto into the main game screen, it shows the Spiritomb's odd keystone behind you, and then if you interact with it, that triggers the battle against that thing. God, there are just a lot of cool aspects about Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire that I feel go overlooked by a good chunk of the fan base. Because most people are like, the game's so easy if you have experience share on all the time and there's so much frickin' water. Nah, I don't really care what a lot of people say. I still really, really like those games. Alright, how about we take this opportunity to... Oh. Okay, we need to free up some room here. Yeah, we've been acquiring a lot of items. This makes sense. You can hold the revive. I don't care. We're going to be getting rid of that anyway. So you can take the amulet coin, and we'll give you the King's Rock back. And then we'll give Filet the amulet coin for now. See, I'm probably not going to worry too much about shuffling our items in a bit, especially because we're actually pretty close to the end of this session. We're probably only going to go a little bit longer. So probably when we return to Slateport City, we're going to call it. But believe me when I say there's still quite a bit we have to see in this area, now that we have acquired Surf. Well, some of the areas that we still have to visit. There's nothing over there. Okay. So, pretty recently, a new episode of Death Battle came up. Yeah, the first episode of Death Battle released this year. And it was based on two shows that I didn't really have much experience with growing up. But it was starring Ichigo from Bleach and Yusuke from Yu Yu Hakusho. And it was definitely a pretty fun battle. It was quite fun getting to hear a bit about these characters from shows that I've heard a lot about over the years, but never actually watched myself. It was a fun time. I really enjoyed the battle. But man, I'm really excited for the fight that's going to come up next. Because it's going to be Cell from Dragon Ball Z against Metal Sonic from the Sonic series. And yeah, that's a very interesting matchup. I'm very curious to see how that's going to go. My money says that Cell's probably going to win that fight, but we'll see. It's probably going to be an interesting one. Though at this point, a certain death battle I've been thinking about pretty recently that I feel would work really well is actually Knuckles and Wario. So I feel like that'd be a pretty nice pairing to get to see in a death battle. Considering they're both characters that are rivals to the main protagonists of their respective series, they both have a knack for treasure hunting, and they're also well known for their physical prowess. I feel like that would be a really cool matchup for a death battle. But yeah, time will tell if we get to see that happen. I feel like it's a good idea. Oh, come on, stop spitting acid on fillet. You can do this, man. It's just a little jellyfish. This actually reminds me way back many years ago, like while I was still in high school. So I went on vacation to Cuba with my mom and my older brother. And while we were there one day, like a bunch of jellyfish ended up washing up on the beach. So that was kind of interesting getting to see that. Like obviously you had to avoid those suckers, because if you step on their tentacles, you can get you'll just get stung, and that will hurt so freaking much. Let's got ourselves another pairing over here to deal with. Dustox and Beautifly. There's not much we haven't already encountered here. So something I want to show off, now that we have Surf, is actually a move that can strike multiple Pokemon in a double battle. We'll focus on Dustox since that's the more defensive of the two. But yeah, what's nice about this is that Surf only affects the enemy Pokemon in Gen 3. In Gen 4, they changed it so that can also hit your allies in a double battle. So I'm definitely grateful for this version of the move. It is definitely a good one. So finish off this Beautifly, and that's it. Good work, team. Definitely pulled through there. Okay. So, dealt with that, we can give Liam a shot in the lead of our party. Just not gonna worry about the amulet coin at this point. I mean, there are a few more trainers we can fight in this area, but I'm not too concerned about it. Look at my chiseled abs! This is what you call cut! I'd only call that cut in the sense that you better cut that out. Ugh, whatever. Let's just take this guy on with Liam. So I definitely feel like Liam hasn't gotten a lot of action these days. Especially because he was not present at all for the last two gyms we did. As obviously I didn't want him in against Flannery due to being a grass type. And I felt like he'd be a bit too frail to handle some of the Pokemon in Norman's gym. And sadly, he is not going to see much use in the near future, since the next gym we're going to be going to specializes in flying-type Pokemon. So, yeah, he is sadly not going to be seeing a lot of action pretty soon. So there's a few more trainers we can still fight on this route. So let's go clear up some of the guys on this end, and we should be good to eventually call it after this. Got ourselves some more tubers to take care of. I guess something else I wanted to briefly mention. I mean, very briefly, because I don't want to focus on this too much, but I have been a little anxious about certain things that had been announced pretty recently. Yeah, I'm not really sure how I'm going to be handling this in a bit. Like, hopefully the certain thing doesn't end up going through, but... yeah, it's going to be pretty interesting if certain things do end up happening. I'm not going to go too much into detail about it, but there's a certain program that I use that is very helpful for keeping up to date and communicating with a lot of people that I consider very special in my life. And some things have been announced recently that could mean potentially having to stop using that particular application. So, yeah, I'm just a little concerned with how things are going to be. Hopefully things don't turn out as bad as a lot of people are saying they could be, but we'll have to wait and see. I do also want to say something on a more positive note, but what was I thinking about? There was something else that I did want to mention. Oh yeah, I forgot to talk about this before, but I actually decided yesterday to return to Celeste, as that was a game I definitely want to eventually finish. And I got through the level where you're in the temple full of mirrors, and oh man, that was a very stressful level. Especially because of the frickin' demon monsters that show up, and they'll frickin' kill you in one hit if they manage to get you. And there's a certain part of that area near the end where you have to escort a certain NPC through that area while you're also dealing with these monsters coming at you. And God, that was so stressful to go through. But, you know, the entire point of the game is dealing with stress. So, it's pretty appropriate that we had to deal with a challenge like that, you know? And yeah, I was definitely pretty relieved when I got through that level. So far, it's the level that I spent the most time in that game, as it was the first one I actually spent over an hour in that level. And I did pretty good clearing it up, all things considered. Like, I believe I missed 3 of the strawberries in that area, and I managed to get the tape that grants you access to the Side B mission. But yeah, I'm definitely feeling pretty good about going through this game again. I'd definitely like to play some more of it, but also want to focus on getting through Final Fantasy VII Remake some more, as that's definitely my highest priority of this month, that I want to get through that game. So I don't know if I'm going to finish the game by the end of February, but I am making good progress. I do have access to the path that will eventually take us to Sector 6 in Wall Market, so I'm very excited about that part of the game. For a number of reasons. But yeah, definitely pretty excited for some of the things coming up. I've also been meaning to check out a couple other games that have come up on Steam, and especially want to grab Hytale, because that seems like a really cool alternative to Minecraft that I feel will be very fun to eventually play. And I definitely want to try and play that game here on this channel, because I think that'd be pretty cool to get to show off. But yeah, we'll save that for a later time. So I believe, yeah, that's about everything we should be able to do on Route 109 and Route 108. So pretty much all the wild encounters in this area are going to be the same as what we've encountered before. So there are no new additions. While we're in this area, let's grab some more soda pop, because we've certainly been using quite a bit of our healing items, and this would be very beneficial to us to grab some more. We're actually getting pretty close to the point where we can buy some even better healing items that are also pretty cost-effective. But we're not going to worry too much about that. We're going to buy one more Sody Pop. There we go. And we should be good. Okay, so we are 2 hours into this session. And I feel like now is a pretty good stopping point for this part of our Hoenn adventure. We managed to defeat our father, getting our 5th gym badge. And our team is looking pretty well. We got ourselves some new encounters, a new teammate I'm really excited to get to use in some future battles. So I think we're going to call things here. So I'll probably see you all again a bit later this week after we take care of some more work shifts. But I'm hoping to be back pretty soon, as next time we're going to be checking out some more things we can do now that we have access to Surf, and then we'll be making our way further into the Hoenn region. Until next time, have a good day, and take care, everyone.